Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 280 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
I'm Summer Rain.
My name is Jordan Willis.
And oh boy, we got a very special episode for you guys today. We are going to be talking all about Super Mario Party Jamboree for the Nintendo Switch family of systems. The third Switch exclusive Mario Party game has dropped. I think the sixth Mario Party game on the system, if you include all the ones on NSO as well. So we're going to be talking about the franchise, what it could possibly bring new to the table after so many games on the Switch, and what it does really, really well. Is the definitive version of Mario Party? You're going to have to listen and find out. We also have lots of news and rumors that we're going to be talking about. Today is actually a very heavy news week. Super Nintendo World in Florida has an official opening date. Nintendo of America is hiring an intellectual property lawyer. Oh, that doesn't bode well for us. There was a very mysterious Nintendo playtest that has had a lot of things leaking out about it. We're going to be discussing what we can while skirting the lines on what we're allowed to talk about and much, much, much more. But before we get into all that, how's everybody doing? You guys have a good week?
I've been sick. I think right after we recorded the last episode, I got a stomach bug, and everybody in my house had a cold. And then I got over the stomach bug, and I got their cold. And then now I have the cold. And then my son got the stomach bug yesterday and was throwing up, which I didn't throw up.
Yeah.
You said that like you're just better than your son.
I did.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, Patrick, I've been having mad diarrhea lately. So.
Yeah, it makes me feel a lot better to know that, actually.
GI. We're super GI heads up in this bitch right now.
Oh, boy. But I don't know. That's coloring everything. I don't know. When you're sick, at least sometimes it's like everything just is like, I'm grumpy and everything's wrong.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can cheer you up today.
Well, thanks.
I want to know a count of how many episodes that Patrick has said he's sick at the beginning. I feel like it's more than normal.
I think it's like 60 episodes.
It's getting better, y'all.
It is
okay,
getting
that's
better.
good.
Right.
Well, I think when you have like a baby, they don't get sick that much, but then you're a kid between the ages of like 3 and 10. It's like, I don't know where it is, but
your immune system's kind of learning what to do.
Your kid gets sick all the time, and then some percentage of that you got to get.
You are the opposite of Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. I will talk about my week. I was not on the show last week. A lot has happened since then. I've actually had a pretty good time. I was out of town last week because I was in Los Angeles. Speaking of babies, I was visiting my brand new baby niece, Caroline. My brother had a daughter. I got to hold that baby for about 10 seconds before she started screaming. And then I gave her back. Otherwise, she's a very nice, quiet baby, very cute. But it was fun. Yeah, I also, when I was out there, I went to a wedding for my friend Jeff. So congratulations, Jeff. You're married now. I saw a bunch of movies recently. I saw The Apprentice, that Donald Trump biopic, which I thought would be terrible, but was actually awesome. I saw The Castle of Cagliostro, Lupin III, which was Miyazaki's first movie. And actually walking into the theater to go see that movie, I met Daniel Kwan, one of the Daniels from Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that was cool. That was my celeb sighting for LA. And then, and then what did I do? I saw The Fall today in theaters, and I recorded about an hour and 45 minutes of dialogue for this anime fan dub that I'm doing. I don't have an hour and 45 minutes of lines, but the session was that long. It was a lot of lines. So that'll be really cool. Check that out, coming out soon. I'll be sure to post some links whenever that's done. But yeah, that was really fun, and I'm glad I got more opportunities to do some voice acting. But yeah, that's been my week.
My grandma turned 80, or we had her 80th birthday celebration on Friday. So I went down to San Antonio and celebrated. And it was actually pretty much everyone in my family for the most part. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 stragglers, but it hasn't been all of us like that in a while. So it was cool. And we got to watch her open presents, which is great. It was just strange because it felt like a child's birthday party, but she's 80. Because I'm like, who sits around and just opens presents at a birthday party when you're above the age of 12. I don't know. And even then, they don't do that anymore. I have been to some kids' birthday parties, like some friends' kids' birthday parties, and they just save the presents and they don't open them.
Yeah.
It's all QR codes and NFTs now.
Yeah.
The future sucks. Except for my grandma's birthday party where we got to watch her open her presents. That was pretty tight. Other than that, I have picked up a gig. So I've been working that the past couple days. I'll probably work for another week or two. No, probably like a week and a half, if I had to guess. And then preparing for hanging at Epoch of my art, to be clear. Yeah, sorry. I was like, that went dark real quick in my brain. I've set this show up where I'm going to print some of my kaleidoscopic photography and show it publicly on a larger format for the first time, which feels really good, but it's also stressful because I'm like specific about presentations. So yeah, that's about it, man. That's what I've been up to. Yeah. What about you, Summer? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I got to go see a show that I've been wanting to see. It's called Teatro Zinzanni, if any of you have heard of that. It's been around in other cities we learned 25 years. It's been in Chicago for 5 years. It's basically this dinner and a show, and the show is a combination of like a lot of different kinds of entertainment. So like there's some Cirque du Soleil-esque kind of stuff, but there's also cabaret and drag, and the wait staff do choreography when they bring out your different courses. It was very up my alley. Had a lot of fun doing that. And then I finally went to Chinatown here in Chicago. It was much closer than I expected it to
It's cool,
be.
isn't it?
Yeah, I the whole time I was like, I can't believe I've never been here before. And then I was like, and now I know how easy it is to get down here. I can come down here whenever I want to. So, it was just fun. I went into like every single souvenir shop. Didn't buy a single thing. Just fun to look at all of the knockoffs because it's Chinatown. And saw the franchise that I am pretty sure I'm going to assume is, I guess, definitionally now worldwide, Ichiban Candy and Snacks, that I'm sure Ichiban Confections from Like a Dragon is based on. Because when I saw it, I was like, oh, Ichiban Kazuko's business. Because I'm a fucking weeb. Yeah, that was me.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, just a couple of quick shout outs this week. Last week, we did an episode on the Game Freak / Pokemon leak that's going on. That's been dubbed the Terra leak. I wanted to shout out Hans over on our Discord, who said they weren't aware of that leak, but personally, they're in the camp that these kinds of things are a net negative. And the whole situation kind of made them feel icky. But no judgment on their part towards people who are excited about it, too, because that, I think that echoes my feelings about it a little bit. And then I wanted to shout out our friend Tyson, who's apparently months behind on the podcast and just listened to the DDD versus K Rule episode and broke the tie that has been sitting at a tie on our Discord.
Goddamn right.
So I like the way they said this, which is DDD is indisputably the man, but K Rule is king. So it is now currently
Come on, Weast, get caught up. Come on, be a homegirl.
Yeah, as if the clear winner isn't going to be K Rule either way. Lizard heads rise up. We keep winning.
Well, just a few shout outs this week, but if you too want to be shouted out and you have any comments on anything we talk about today, we'd love to shout you out. So make sure and make a comment on the YouTube or join the Discord and post something there, or send us a note and we'll try to shout you out. We also appreciate it if you share the podcast somewhere online or leave a review. That's really helpful, or tell a friend. We've also got a Patreon if you want to become a patron and financially support the podcast. That is always much appreciated. And then we've got the video version. If you're just listening to the podcast, you can watch us. So make sure you head on over to YouTube, and while you're there, hit like and subscribe.
That's right. And also a quick announcement as well. The next couple of weeks on this podcast, I'm going to be in Japan. And as such, I won't really have a ton of opportunity to edit the show like I normally do. So we are going to be having a couple weeks off starting next week, but we do have a couple awesome special episodes already pre-recorded that we're going to be dropping over the next couple weeks. So definitely keep your eyes out for some of those. We have some very cool special guests that'll be joining for those as well. So just wanted to give a little heads up, and I'll see you on the other side of the Nintendo Museum.
That's right. And with that, we'll talk about our news for the week. We're going to start off with Super Nintendo World. which is happening in Florida, right? In Orlando. We finally got a specific date. I think they had told us that this is going to open in 2025, but now we know it is going to be May 22nd of 2025. And they put out a little video and it showed like Donkey Kong. So we're definitely going to get that Donkey Kong minecart ride, right?
Yeah. That'll be another reason to go to the one here in the States that isn't the California one as well, because I do not think the Donkey Kong World will be open by the time I go to the Osaka version of this park this year. So I'm excited to have at least that to look forward to, something a little bit new. And it's been a while since I've gone to Orlando. I don't know how often I generally go there, but it'll be a fun time when I eventually do that.
Yeah, I've literally just been waiting for this to open to go back to Universal Studios. Like, I haven't been to Universal Studios in probably like 8 or 9 years. It's been a long time. And I was just like, yeah, whenever Nintendo World opens, I'll go. And then it's been forever. So I am like pretty stoked this is going to happen. I'll probably try to go at some point and check it out. It's a really weird park though, because it's like the third park of Universal Studios that has famously had 2 parks for a long time.
Yeah, this is Epic Universe, right?
Yeah. And so they're adding, of course, another Harry Potter section. Makes sense. It's their bread and butter. It's their butter beer, if you will. And then they're like, this is why this park is weird to me, because they're doing a How to Train Your Dragon section, which I was like, they haven't really made one of those movies in a while. I didn't realize it was that big of a franchise.
They've got a live action one coming out soon.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I was like looking up information for this. I was like, why are they doing How to Train Your Dragon? They're like, oh, they're doing the Disney thing where they're like remaking their animated movies into live action. And I'm like, oh, this is where they start,
Mm-hmm.
But the weirdest part is the Dark Universe section, which is like supposed to be based off like Universal Monsters, I guess. But also like they tried that whole failed like Dark Universe cinematic universe or whatever with like Dracula and the Mummy and Frankenstein. It just kept failing and failing and failing. So it's like really weird to see them like double down on a theme park. But anyway, I am excited to go and at least see the Nintendo part of this park.
Switch Headz field trip.
Yeah.
We can all go to Florida, right?
I'm in.
Until then, we can move along and talk about Banjo Tooie, which is coming to NSO on October 25th. So the expansion pack, if you have the upper tier of the NSO, in just a few days, you'll be able to play Banjo Tooie. Anybody play this in the past or looking forward to trying it out on NSO? Or
this one always passed me by. I never had a chance to play this one, or I just never got around to it, I guess is probably a better way to say that. But I hear great things. I hear different things. I think some people say it's not as good as the original. I know Miles recently on the 3D Platformer episode was saying that this is way better than the original. So I'm interested to try it out on my own and form my own opinion. And I'm just glad to see the kind of the continuance of all these rare games dropping on the service.
Are we only missing one rare game once this drops, being Conker's Bad Fur Day? Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong Racing.
That's the big one we're missing.
Yeah, we'll get that at some point. But also, I don't know if you saw this, Patrick, in the news, but the former marketing director at Xbox, Aaron Greenberg, or maybe he's the current marketing director, I'm not sure, recently said in an event that nobody cares about Banjo Kazooie when that was shouted out. It was at like a Microsoft Flight Simulator event. And I think he was kind of joking when somebody said Banjo Kazooie in the crowd. And he was like, nobody cares about Banjo Kazooie. But it does feel like Microsoft at least doesn't care about Banjo Kazooie, because I think it was pointed out online that Nintendo has done more for Banjo Kazooie in the last like few years than Microsoft has since the entirety of the time that they've owned Rare, right? So hopefully all these games, coming out, Nintendo's got some data on that, the release of Banjo in Smash. Hopefully that's kind of giving a little bit of a message here to Microsoft that people actually really do care. Or maybe, I don't know, it'd be nice maybe if Microsoft just sold off the franchise back to Nintendo, because I don't think they're parting with Rare anytime soon. Sea of Thieves is a huge hit, and they actually just recently promoted one of the head guys at Rare to like the head of the gaming division. So we'll just have to see how that shakes out, but I'd really like them to give it back to Nintendo.
Well, while we're talking about Nintendo 64, Analog is making a new piece of hardware, basically sort of a modern Nintendo 64 console that you can put your cartridges in and play, with 4K and sort of modern aesthetics and that sort of thing. The pre-orders for that, I think, just happened. So if that's something you're interested in, you can definitely check that out and look into it. I know we were talking about this on the Discord, and there was a lot of like, that's cool, but I don't know if that's for me discussion. Is that how we feel as a group? Or
Yeah, it's called the Analog 3D, and it's another FPGA console that has HDMI out and like 4 controller ports and all that. I'm not planning on getting this. Jordan, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm not planning on getting one. I just think it's cool. Like I like the idea, especially the price point for $250 is like really not that bad if you already own all the carts. That being said, I don't own any of these carts. So, I mean, that's a huge investment on like the back end just to buy all the games. But I do like the idea, and I like the reformatted controller that they have released with this as well. Like it just feels more modern, but also has like the same button layout. But I don't know. I just think it's cool. And I really like to see like a company rethinking old hardware in a modern context.
Totally. Yeah. I think if you've got a lot of the carts, this is a really good pickup. If you're paying for like a retro tank or getting a mod where you're putting HDMI out into original hardware, the price is going to be about $250, if not a little bit more. So this is a really good deal for that. And then, like the controller, like you said, that's actually a collaboration with 8-Bit Do, who does really good stuff. So I'm happy to see that as well. So for enthusiasts who like physical games, this is a great pickup.
Moving along, it was spotted that Nintendo has a job listing, and we should say Nintendo of America has a job listing for an attorney, for an IP or intellectual property attorney, given all of the lawsuits and shutdowns of emulators and the recent news about all these leaks and things. Not terribly surprising to see this. Of course, it could be somebody's stepping down and they're just looking to replace somebody, but I wouldn't be surprised also if this just means they're looking for more attorneys. For what it's worth, also they're looking for a sort of a at least somewhat experienced attorney, because the summary of requirements says 5 years of experience practicing IP law. So,
which, for my opinion, 5 years is also about how long as trademarks should be allowed to exist before they enter the public domain, as Summer gave a shout out to last week. Thank you for that, Summer. I appreciated hearing some of my more radical IP thoughts being represented on the show. Yeah, I don't know. What do you get? Do you think this is anything in particular, or do you think they're just ramping up for Switch 2? Or do you think that this is maybe going to further kind of that fight against emulation going forward? Because that's kind of what it feels like they're bolstering up for, right?
I think it's hard to say if they're losing somebody and they're just looking to replace them or not. But given how litigious Nintendo is and how much IP they have and how widespread what they're trying to do is, and keeping all sorts of things off of the internet and away, from people like emulation and stuff like that, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just constantly expanding their legal team on some level too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, how do we, right? It's a job posting. Like, how do we know they're not just replacing somebody else? Somebody else got fed up. What if it was somebody was like, you don't actually have a case here with Pal World, and so they quit?
That's true. I mean, that's another thought, is that they're kind of hiring up to take on Pal World from the Nintendo of America branch as well. If NOA started suing Pocket Pair along with Nintendo Japan, then that would be a double whammy. It'd be impossible to fight that, I think. So
I think it also could be like just related to all the movie stuff that's been going on. Like this to me seems like, I mean, they have the Zelda movie coming up. They have the second Super Mario Brothers animated movie coming up. And it could just be like they're planning more movies in the future, and they're like trying to protect their IP from different angles. And you just need more people to do that.
Totally.
Well, if there's nothing else, we can move on to some news about Bandai Namco. So as we've discussed in the past, in Japan, it's a little bit harder to have layoffs. But it sounds like over at Bandai Namco, they are doing their best to get rid of their workforce because they've been canceling titles and just I didn't know this, but reading this article about this is awful, y'all. Like, apparently in Japan, because they can't fire people, this isn't just Bandai Namco, but it's, I guess, an approach that's taken over there, is that they just, when they want people to quit, they kind of force them to quit by putting them in rooms and giving them nothing to do. And I guess the thought is that people will use that time and they know what they're being asked to do to try to find a different job.
I saw the episode of Agretsuko about this, so I know.
Really?
They cover all kinds of like the toxic work culture in Japan in that show.
Yeah, they're called Oidashi Beya, or expulsion rooms. And it sounds like it's a little like capitalist prison.
Yeah.
Like you sit there and you can't do anything, and then you like start to get docked because you're not doing work. And so then it's like they're basically trying to shame you into leaving. So there's a lot of like worker protection things in Japan that I think are good, but then there's also like loopholes like this that are insane. Yeah, I don't know what else to really say about this other than the kind of video game slump that's happening right now as far as like profits are concerned is happening worldwide. It's not just America. This is kind of a major representation of that.
Awful. I'd rather just be fired. I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But anyway.
There was also another company, Tosei. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but they've been like a Nintendo affiliate for a long time. They're not under Nintendo, but they work with Nintendo a lot. They did the Switch version of Breath of the Wild. They've been working with Nintendo for decades. They also had kind of record losses this year. And we're talking about how the whole industry is in a slump, and it being the end of the Switch's life cycle, everyone knows that, and sales are down quite a bit, but they're really confident that it'll turn around with the next system. That was like a statement from Tosei. Hopefully we see a big rejuvenation of the industry once the next Switch comes out.
Next up, wanted to talk a little bit about the Mario and Luigi Brothership game. First of all, there's been a lot of previews coming out over the last couple of weeks. I think that press have had their chance to, get whatever early access they have. And so we've been hearing a little bit about it. Maybe we can start with that. Jordan, I'd love your take, but I know one thing that I have heard is that it's got really strong RPG elements, that like there's a lot of depth or like, I don't know if that's the right word, but it sounds like from just doing a quick skim of some of these, that's something that's being called out a lot.
Hell yeah, man. That makes me so excited, because that was one of my favorite parts about the Mario and Luigi series, was it was a little bit deeper. And that's what kind of made it hard to go back to Super Mario RPG when the remake came out, because I was like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, they've done this better later on. And I love the games that are later on. One of my favorite things in the Mario and Luigi series is like, whenever you level up, you get to pick like what section you want to level up at. Instead of like 3 options, you have like all of your RPG style options, and like it just makes me so excited, man. Like, just watching the trailers for this, I'm like, this game looks correct. Like, it looks like the right vibe. And hearing that the previews are like talking about how it is the correct vibe and it is a deeper RPG experience just makes me even more excited to play this game.
Yeah, and it was also finally revealed who is actually developing this game. We were wondering that for a long time, because obviously the company that used to work on this, remind me of their name, Jordan.
Alpha Dream.
That's right. Alpha Dream is no longer. They were shut down by Nintendo, but the studio that's actually working on this is Acquire. You might know them because they worked a lot on the Way of the Samurai and Tenchu series, along with Octopath Traveler as well. So those are some very recent game, or at least Octopath Traveler is a very good recent example of a game with really deep RPG mechanics. Especially if they're leaning more into that on this, that would make sense, because Paper Mario has kind of gone a little bit more casual over the years. Even with the more recent game, I think as long as Mario fans have a really deep RPG they can sink their teeth into, I think most fans will be satisfied.
Well, we can move along to an event that happened this past week, which is the Xbox Partner Preview Showcase. I'll be honest, I completely missed this. So on October 17th, Xbox, I guess this is all third-party developers of things that, will be on Xbox and theoretically other platforms as well. Did anybody here watch this, or is everybody on the same boat where you just kind of skimmed it?
I didn't know this even was a thing, so my bad.
I knew about it. I didn't get to catch it. I saw I think like my personal takeaways were like the immediate drop of Animal Well on Xbox. And then we got an additional trailer for Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza, and an announcement that it's coming out a week earlier than they originally planned, because production is going that well. and to not conflict with the release of the new Monster Hunter game.
I did hear that. They pushed it back like a little bit. That's funny, man.
Yeah. But they're confident that they can do it because apparently production has just been going so well on the game, which is like really cool and nice. You never hear it that way.
Yeah, totally.
That's true. Were there any other trailers or info that anybody saw they were interested in?
The one I thought looked really cool was Mouse PI for Hire. It looks like a combination of like Pokemon Snap and Doom meet like Cuphead, because there's like a picture taking mechanic as well as just like a boomer shooter kind of like vibe, but all within like the Cuphead kind of animation style. So I thought that game looked like really, really cool. But a lot of the other stuff was kind of like console releases of games that have already been out, and it just felt like a little like weak in that way. But yeah, David, did you see anything that you liked?
Not actually from this, but Xbox did release 2 new SKUs of consoles that I think also went largely under the radar. I don't know anybody that's really talking about these, but there was a 2 terabyte Galaxy Black version of the Xbox Series X and an all digital 1 terabyte as well, which is white. So Xbox is like doing a lot of stuff, but I just don't hear a lot of people talking about it, which is kind of strange. I really hope they've got a lot of interesting looking first party games coming out soon. They're kind of E3 or E3, not E3 showing this year, had a lot of really kind of hype stuff in it. So hopefully that can turn Xbox and Microsoft around a little bit, because I really am rooting for Microsoft. It just seems like they're definitely in a downward kind of slump right now.
Well, next up is the God of War television show. News recently that apparently a lot of the people involved with this have left the project, and that basically they're scrapping or kind of restarting production, we might say. I don't know if maybe they'll be able to use some of the writing or not that's happened, but is that it more or less? It just sounds like a lot of people are jumping ship and they're kind of rebooting this whole thing.
Yeah. From what I understand, there were creative differences, which is the excuse you always hear for these sorts of news items whenever it comes around. I'm a little bummed about this. I don't really care about God of War that much, but I was really looking forward to the show because I'm a big fan of the executive producers on the show and the head writers, that being Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby. They are some of my favorite writers in Hollywood right now. They wrote Children of Men, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. They also were writers on the Expanse series as well. And so they've been kind of floating around a lot of great franchises that I really enjoy, and I really love their kind of high concept approach to a lot of things, but it sounds like it wasn't going the way that the studio wanted it to go. Now, whether that is Sony or Amazon, it's hard to say. I'm sure Amazon has certain things they want to hit, especially now that another big live action video game adaptation was very successful for them. That being Fallout, right? I'm sure there's a little bit of like, hey, well, let's try to follow the trends that are happening in this other show that made it so successful. And maybe they were like, no, that's not what we want to do, right? So either way, it's a shame to hear that they're gone more than anything, rather than the delay. That's going to be the big bummer for me. Kind of takes a little bit of the wind out of my sails to see this series, if I'm going to be honest.
We're going to move along to Sakurai's YouTube channel, his game design channel. It was announced a while back, right, that it was going to be ending right around this time. But we now know that the very final video for it is going to be released on his channel on October 22nd. So that's before this podcast releases, but he's kind of been sharing this. So I don't know if it's going to be some big thing, or if it kind of feels like he's trying to make it be a big thing, but I don't know if it will be or not. But essentially this is the final video for Sakurai's YouTube game design.
Yeah, he said that everybody should tune in live to this one. So who knows exactly what that means. It is going to be at 6 a.m. tomorrow for us. So I don't know if I'm going to be tuning in live or staying up all night to watch that live, but it is one of those like YouTube premieres, right? But there's been a lot of speculation about what that could be. Maybe it might be a bit of this is the end of my YouTube channel, and here's what my next game is going to be. If that's the case, that's pretty hype. I'm a little bummed. We'll be taking 2 weeks off, so we can't talk about whatever it is for 2 weeks that is going to be in this thing.
It's just the next Smash, man.
Yeah. Well, it could be.
We're recording without you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine, honestly. But we, as long as you can edit it, because I am not touching the fucking computer while I'm gone. Anyway, a lot of people are also speculating, and we'll get to this in a little bit, that it is related to that Nintendo playtest. We do actually know what that is now due to a series of leaks. If it was that, because that's kind of that video is coming out the day before the actual playtest starts, I think that would be pretty exciting.
I mean, it kind of makes sense because it's like if it comes out the timing is just too strange. Like, and also it's like Nintendo's like, don't share anything about this playtest. I'm like, yeah, look how that worked for Deadlock. Like everyone fucking knows this game exists. Everyone who's in that, all 10,000 players are going to be talking about whatever the playtest is. Like it's
except for me, of course. I will not be doing that because I abide by the rules, and I love Nintendo. I love Nintendo so much.
David, you are a consummate rule follower, and that's one of the things I've always respected about you. But I am curious to see, like, and we'll just have to wait till tomorrow at 6 a.m. when I'm awake to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. It could just be a game design thing too, right?
Yeah, he's like, always put your jump on A. Well, woke up at 6 a.m. for this.
Anyway, we'll know more later, so we'll move on to the fact that we just had the anniversary of the Switch reveal 8 years ago, October 20th. I guess in my mind, I would keep thinking that like there's no way they're going to announce it this year. But then when I hear that it's almost exactly the exact same time, I guess that can keep hope alive for a Switch 2 announcement over the next week or more.
It better not happen when we're off for 2 weeks. That's all I'm saying. Please, God, please wait until I'm back from Japan to reveal the Switch 2. Yeah, I mean, it was funny going back and watching that video because they really did nail a lot of what is so great about the Switch right there in that opening thing. So whenever they do reveal the next Switch, I hope it similarly shows off whatever new feature that's going to be very succinctly and very well. But the more time that goes by, the more I think we're not getting a reveal until early next year, maybe January or something like that.
I feel the same way. You know, I think the situation is different. I know like a lot of people like to point to this happening at this time of year, but the Switch has been doing well. I don't think they can squeeze out one more holiday without hurting themselves, you know?
They'll probably do it right before the end of the fiscal year, so their stock goes up at the very end before they have to like put in final numbers, right? For the year. I think that would make the most sense. And then they ride that wave into the beginning of the next fiscal year with the console releasing within the first like quarter or two, right, of the next fiscal year and just keep the momentum going. That would be, to me, like at this point, because they haven't unveiled it yet, it really feels to me like that is the play. But yeah.
It also feels like with this like playtest, they know that's going to like dominate the news for at least like a week. And there's like no way they're going to do a Switch release to cover up that news as well. Like it just doesn't make sense. So I feel like it's just going to keep getting pushed along. And then it's like, okay, well, do you do it in November? No, because you're going to just like shoot yourself in the foot with the holiday sales. So yeah, I'm kind of with y'all on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, just for the sake of being a contrarian, I will say that we will get a Switch 2 reveal at the Game Awards on December 7th. So
I'm down for it. That would be sick. That would be great.
by the time you're listening to this, I'm actually playing Mario Party on my Switch 2.
Right.
Oh, that's good. A little bit on the Switch 2 while we're talking about it here. There has been a Nintendo leaker who goes by the name of Nin Spider that shared a hand-drawn picture that has been making the rounds of what I guess presumably the Switch 2 or Super Switch, whatever we want to call it, looks like. And I think it's hilarious. But
I love that that's the point we're at on the hype
This is
cycle.
making the news.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen the video that was from a local news station in Alabama of an amateur drawing of a leprechaun?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is what we've stooped to, you guys.
Good times. Everybody see Leprechaun say, yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to know where the gold is at.
That's the next one I was going to say. My great grandfather was a leprechaun hunter.
But I mean, let's talk about it. Like, you know, it's got a donk. First of all, the dock with the donk. I think we can all agree on that.
Much bigger. Yeah.
Well, because there's a lot of rumored speculation that has been talking about it getting a boost when it is docked, right? So the system itself playing games at 720 to 1080p in handheld, and then being able to get boosted for 4K output, right? So if that means that a lot of the DLSS features are actually in the dock, and it kind of acts as a sort of, you know, extra little bit of memory or graphics card or whatever to allow for that DLSS feature to go through. That would make sense why there's like a bit of more space in the dock itself. The kickstand looks a little weird on this drawing, and not just because it's done with squiggly pencil, but because it's kind of got like a little hooked kind of, it looks like a little more separated. It's not like one big long like a shelf like you see on the OLED. It looks a little strange. I don't know. I'm worried people are going to actually use that as a handle.
Yeah, it's like the GameCube. It is a handle. You're going to carry this like a purse, like they thought we would do with the GameCube.
All right, GameCube coming to NSO for Super Switch confirmed. We got it.
I think we should move along to our last news item here then, which we kind of already talked a little bit about, and that is the Playtest Program, the Nintendo Switch Online Playtest Program that is not underway just yet, but I think it will be around the time this podcast releases. But what has happened is people have been able to download and look at the software. And as David said, people are not supposed to share this, but obviously people have been talking about it. And so we have some information more or less about what this is. And there's been like not screenshots of the actual, or maybe there has been screenshots. I haven't seen a lot of the actual screenshots because I know a lot of them have been taken down and that sort of thing. I've seen some stuff just showing the description and that sort of stuff, but it sounds like this is more or less an MMO, is how I'm understanding it, right? It's like a world that you are building with other people. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is sort of the gameplay that I have kind of understood.
Yeah, and I think we should clear up a couple things before we get started. First of all, none of this is coming from anything, because I am the only one out of the four of us that actually has access to this. And even saying that the actual playtest and the game itself haven't started yet. What is available to people that were selected right now is an FAQ about the game. You can download the game and put it on your system, but you can't start it yet. And also there is an explanation page, which has lots of details about what this thing is. Now, I'm not going to be reading anything from the thing that I actually have from Nintendo here. I'm only going to be reporting and talking about stuff that I've been hearing from other people that have leaked stuff already. So hopefully that gets Nintendo ninjas off of our back as we talk about some of this stuff. This is stuff that I've seen on Twitter and whatnot. But there is a lot of information about this. And I think the first and most important thing is that, yes, this is a game and not some sort of service added to NSO. It's not GameCube games. It's not a chat feature. It's not a streaming service. This is a sort of game that seemingly doesn't have a name yet, but does include consistent online, massive multiplayer and stuff like that. And I think what I could describe it most as is kind of like it feels to me like a Peter Molyneux sort of project. He would do that game where it's like everybody clicks one box and together the world clicks all the boxes. And it's like kind of like that. It's like you're filling out a orb-like planet, which I think is that sphere from the playtest demo that we've been seeing all the pictures of. And yeah, it's you kind of work together and work amongst yourselves to build and create user-generated content in this world. It's really bizarre and hard to explain. I've read over the thing multiple times and I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around it. I think it's going to be something that hopefully just feels better to play than reading about a lot in advance. But have you guys been hearing anything about this? Does this kind of thing excite you? Are you glad that it's not a feature? What's y'all's vibe on this?
Going back to our NSO episode recently, this is the kind of thing I wanted to see. Like random game that's only for NSO users. I don't know, once we get into, like you said, this is kind of a weird, like hearing about it. Like I feel like I could go either way. Like I might love this, I might hate it, I might even just enjoy it for an hour or two and then never play it again. But like this is the kind of thing I want them to do with NSO, is take risks and make weird things that require, online components and stuff. So
yeah, I want to be cautiously optimistic because like I'm also team like would prefer something like this than, we're going to see if we can test the GameCube games. Like in a new game concept that they want to make sure that they can execute or figure out what they need to do before they can. It's going to be like they've built something else probably to actually test the like the ability for the hardware or servers. As opposed to like you're not going to actually get to test whatever the actual game is, I'm sure. I'm not sure. I mean, There was no NDA, so I feel like it wouldn't be the actual game.
Yeah, or it's at least an early prototype for what this game is. Like Nintendo has done playtests before for like Splatoon, but those are games that were already out and successful, right? This is a brand new concept. This is a very weird thing. And it feels like Nintendo in that it's something I've never seen before and it feels very innovative. But at the same time, it's very un-Nintendo in that it's kind of like a Roblox Minecraft-y kind of thing where it's like, everybody kind of builds their own thing and is a part of this greater world, right? And so whatever they're doing, it like the graphics of it seem really strange and what it is seems really strange. I can't wait to try this thing out. I'm sure if you guys want to look up more information about it, there will be a lot of people, I'm sure, just posting straight up footage of this if you know where to look in the right places. And I don't know, it feels almost like nefarious. I was joking with Baylor earlier, who was over, we were talking about it, and I was like, this kind of feels like an Ender's Game situation. Like there is some like actual alien planet that like we're actually controlling when we play through this game. And I don't know, I just felt it's very weird and ominous to me, the whole thing.
It was pretty funny to be at your house last night. David and I were on a stream together last night. Like, oh, the playtest, I can download it now. Oh, I wonder what's on Twitter. And it's like, oh, it's already been data mined. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like literally.
I don't think it's been data mined yet. Exactly. I think it was like, it's downloaded, but I think a lot of people were going through this playtest explanation page that was on here now that I've like kind of looked at it. I don't know that it's been data mined yet, but it is a matter of time before the entire thing gets dumped. Yeah.
Did not take very long. And the internet is a awful and glorious place at the same time.
Do you have something you're going to say, Patrick?
Oh, I think that it was a joke and the moment has passed.
Please say it. Please say it.
Well,
I'm dying to hear it.
You were talking about it being like an Ender's Game thing, and I was thinking like to weed out all the like people who leak stuff. Like they ask their biggest, greediest fans to join it, and then they're just identifying all the people that like do this.
Oh
and,
my God, Patrick.
I love that.
They're not actually testing out a game. They're testing out who to kill.
That's hilarious. I did read it in the terms of service, and it did say they can kill you if you talk about it. So be on the lookout if you see red dots or
Patrick, you're onto something. And they're just going to continue to do it in 10,000 people waves like this. Yeah. And it's going to continue to be easier and easier for the rest of us to get into this until we're all dead.
Yeah, they're lowering the global population so the Japanese population decline isn't quite as dramatic as it has been. I think that's the plan.
Well, I think we'll know more about this, like everybody said. So I think that is going to do it for our news section. We are going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking all about Super Mario Party Jamboree. We are back, and this week we are talking about Super Mario Party Jamboree, the newest first-party game for the Switch. Just came out, the third new Mario Party game on the Switch. I think we've all had a chance to play at least a little bit of this. How are we feeling so far? Big picture overall about Super Mario Party Jamboree. Anybody have any thoughts they want to share?
I'll go ahead and talk. As resident, never owned a Mario Party game before. I've only played it at other people's houses or just, in other spaces owned by other people who have said, let's play Mario Party. And I realize who I'm in the room with. And I say, yeah, all right, I'll play Mario Party. And then I never know any of the mini games. And they always say, what do you mean you don't know the mini games, Summer? You're a gamer. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a gamer. I don't know Mario Party mini games. So with all of that said, and I understand that, yes, this is the third Mario Party game released on the Nintendo Switch. I remember being kind of startled when the second one had been announced. And now here we are at the third one. I don't know how the other two are. I mean, like I played one of them, but it was late and I was drunk. So this, though, not having any other like context and understanding, like this has got tons of mini games in it. And I like the boards a lot so far. I don't know how new or innovative they are compared to other Mario Party games. But as somebody, again, who's never really like owned it myself, I'm having a lot of fun with this. And it's something that's been really nice playing it with the other people who live in my home. And I really enjoyed playing it with y'all over the weekend too. This is something I genuinely see myself like sitting down with, evenings with friends, having a couple drinks. Like it's totally kind of filling that space of like, we don't want to play Smash. We're tired of Mario Kart. Like we'll play Mario Party now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is, I do think that I personally, throughout pretty much the entirety of the Switch's lifespan, have had Mario Party fatigue. I actually haven't bought any of these games on my own. I've always played other people's copies, either being at their house or they've shared their copies with me for the podcast. But that said, if you're going to buy a Mario Party for the Switch, I think it should be this one. I think that this is by far because there's been kind of a bit of a lack of just depth of content for the Switch Mario Party generation. I think Super Mario Party feels like it was rushed out the door. All three of these have been developed by ND Cube, by the way, who in this version of the game actually changed their name to Nintendo Cube now, is what they are officially known as. So good for them. But I think as far as the ND Cube era Mario Party games, this one feels like they finally took a lot of the complaints about the lack of content to heart. It's got way more maps than any of the other ones. The maps actually feel really robust and have lots of interesting, creative things about them. And then not only that, there is a breadth of new modes, which have all their own bespoke mini games in them, in addition to these almost 100 plus that are in the regular Mario Party mode. Add on to that a robust single player, which is in this game, and a ranked online and a lot of different modes that also work online. I think that this is by far the most feature complete Mario Party game of the Switch generation. And I'm really happy to see it. And everything that I've played from it so far has been incredibly fun.
Yeah, I mean, I had a good time with it. I'm still on the fence with motion controls in my Mario Party games, and I feel like a fucking old man saying that because I'm like, take the motion controls out of this. I just want to use my Pro controller. I'm also I refuse to buy a second set of Joy-Cons. So for me, I would never be able to play this 4-player in my own home locally. So for me, I'm kind of whatever, I don't really care.
Surely whoever you invite over also owns a Switch and can bring their Switch over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm over here I can't wait to try out the 8-player mode soon with friends. I'll probably be able to do it this upcoming weekend. And I have enough Joy-Cons in my own home. So
same.
That being said, I do agree with David. The maps, the way that the maps play feels very interesting. And even the game that we played over the weekend, yesterday, the most stars I've ever seen get collected in 10 turns, ever in a Mario Party game, which makes it more exciting to play because it feels like they kind of both sped up and slowed it down. It's hard to describe, but they sped up the gameplay somehow, even though you're taking the same amount of time. They just maybe fewer spaces. I don't know. I feel like this one, they really dialed it in. What makes it fun to play on a board game level?
I haven't had a whole lot of time to play at least the main Mario Party mode. I do own the other 2 Mario Party games for the Switch. So I think I have Mario Party on Switch fatigue. And I think my son and I played one whole, 10 round Mario Party game, and it was fun. And I actually really liked the map and I liked the mini games, but I think I just kind of was I'm kind of over how long this takes to play. And we even played it on the fast mode because you can set it to fast now. So I think we just have played a lot of Mario Party over here, and I think it's a pretty solid Mario Party game is kind of what I felt like. But it's just another Mario Party game, and maybe it's the best, but I haven't really dug in enough to know that. I will say one thing that we did spend time doing, and I know we'll talk about this later, is some of the just bonus content. We played quite a bit of that, and I really enjoyed it. And talking about the stuff that we want them to just do on NSO, all these little mini games, I was playing these and I was like, this is the kind of stuff I want them to just make and throw up on NSO for subscribers. Something that maybe isn't that big or robust, but just you play for a couple hours and I don't know.
Yeah, that's that Kirby Delicious game or whatever the fuck. I always forget what that game's called. But it was that was the $7 game. I want to see Nintendo do more things like that. And I mean, Nintendo Cube has really good instincts when it comes to this sort of stuff. And we also saw that with Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. You know, they know how to make games that are like made for smaller little bursts, but are bigger than mini games, right? By themselves. So I definitely would like to see more of that. And we'll talk about some of those modes that we really enjoyed here in just a little bit.
I think where probably this game does shine is those boards. I've really only played one, but instantly that one I played, it was really big. It was the mall or whatever they call
we played
it.
that last night on stream. Yeah.
Okay. So it's big, and I think that can be a little frustrating sometimes, but I do also like that about it, and how, like, you know, that there were, especially at first, there's a little bit of a learning curve to it because you're like, oh, I'm taking the escalator up. Oh no, that's not the way I wanted to go. You know, and then now I understand.
Oh wait, I have to pay for the elevator? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, that being said, like, it's big, right? But there was a turn last night when we played. David got 3 stars in one turn, which I've never seen
that either.
in a fucking Mario Party game. And I've been playing
People
Mario
were fucking
Party since
pissed, dude.
I was
People were
pissed.
mad. Yeah,
I was impressed, but I was pissed.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
So I was like right before the star. I was like right ahead of the star. It was like 1 away. And then I started by passing one of the boo shops, which lets you pay 50 coins to steal a star. And then I got the star, and then the star moved, and I was on a double dice roll. And so it moved like 5 spaces past where it was before, and I got it a second time. That was kind of sus, actually.
That's wild, though.
Yeah.
Like,
that makes me think of something that was quite the opposite that happened with my kid. There's new items, and I kind of want to talk about some of those at some point.
Sure.
But there's one new item. Maybe it's not new in theory, right? Like there's the pipe item, and there's been the golden pipe in the past, but this one has a pipe that can randomly take you to just any random square, you know, and you're like kind of hoping you're going to go to the star. Well, he used it, and it just put him 1 space in front of him.
It feels like they probably wait like troll advances or like perfect advances in the randomness, you know?
The first game that Kyle and I played, you know, we just bought it and then started playing it, and bullshit just kept happening. And the whole time we were like, because this was after you said, Patrick, that you probably weren't going to buy this because your kid got so upset about it. The whole time we were like, yeah, can definitely see why a child would get really upset about this.
Yeah, Summer and I had a different conversation where I said that, like, part of the reason I didn't haven't played more was that first game he was real salty about. Like,
yeah. I truly do feel like that's the funny thing about this. It's like visually and like mechanically, it is totally designed for like young kids. But I feel like you've got to have like a sense of like self before you can like play these games.
Yeah, your skin has to be thickened by years of beratement and loss to be able to emotionally handle what this game is throwing at you.
It's truly just understanding that you're just playing to have fun. You're not. It's all. None of it matters. It's like whose line. Like anybody that wins, it doesn't. They're not actually a winner. They're just like. That's just how it went.
What matters is who wins the most mini games. That's how I
Which is always me. Which is always me. But it's never a bonus star.
Yeah.
But it's never a bonus star.
It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. It's always the bonus star always goes to like the player who fucking was made the most fun of by everybody else. The biggest loser award.
I was really going for the most reactions star. I don't know if you noticed that last night, but I was literally just spamming. I don't know, but I was trying.
Okay.
I don't think so.
It does feel like the RNG like has some like pretty evil machinations. Like I'm sure it's weighted for controversy. You know what I mean? It's weighted to piss people off, I think, rather than being like truly random. At least it really feels that way when you play.
Yeah, I think so. Well, did y'all play any of the other boards, or are there any other like unique items that y'all want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm forgetting the name of it, but I did play on the one with the volcano as well. It had like a giant Goomba that erupts. That one was really fun. I don't know if you played on that one, Summer, but I played on that one, and that was a fun one. It was also big, and it had kind of a tide mechanic. The tide would come in and out and rise and lower, and so that it made for some pretty funny situations where you would be like stuck on a tiny island with like 4 spaces on it. So you would roll a 10, and you would just go go woo, 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 just go in circles around this tiny little island waiting for the tide to go down or to come back up, or I don't know exactly what it was, but that one was really funny. That was the first one I played. And it also had a really interesting mechanic where you would go to the volcano and if you landed on it, it could either throw out a bunch of potaboos, which are like those little fireball guys, and they would be on every block, and then every single space that you pass, you would lose a coin, or it would send out gold guys where every single space that you pass, you would get a coin, right? So it would be kind of this like either or on whether or not everybody would be in like a giant drought of money or just your cup overfloweth and everybody's like buying a bunch of items up all at once, right? So that made it kind of interesting. I will say something that we were talking about last night with the mall level in particular is that it feels like a lot of these are definitely made for more than 10 rounds, you know? Like I feel like the definite like best way to play these is probably with at least 15 turns instead of 10, just because there's so much that can happen. There's like, especially like with the stamps on the mall one, you know, there's like, I've never turned in any of my stamps. You know, I just kept circling around it and I never turned any of them in. But if we were played 15 turns instead of 10, I think that would have happened. But yeah, like you said, you play 15 rounds, all of a sudden you're looking at like a 2-hour game at least, you know, so it's a commitment on what you're willing to commit to.
To be fair, specifically on that map, they do put an ally character with Rosalina to entice you to go the route to turn in your stamps. So, like, I feel like the incentive is there, like the design is there, but I was the only one turning in my stamp card.
Yeah.
It's also, Rosaline is not like guaranteed to be the ally.
No, it's random. And also, like in our gameplay, people were turning in stamp cards left and right.
Okay, so it just depends on how you do it.
Yeah. I played the carts board. Also enjoyable. I don't know. Is there a 4 dice turbo on the other maps?
Mm-mm.
It was the only one. Okay, so I saw it on that one. So you can get a 4 dice item, but it makes you go turbo mode, which means that you don't automatically stop at things. You just go the distance of the 4 dice. I didn't understand that when I rolled it, and I landed one spot after the star.
Oh man, that is frustrating.
What I also didn't understand about that one, so you have an option at the end of the map to either you can pick, there's a lot of times where you get to choose basically different lanes, and towards the end you can either choose crossing the finish line or going through the pit stop. If you go through the pit stop, they fill up your tank with items. So basically if you don't have any items, you get 3 random items, or you know, however many item spots you have available, you get those items. But I didn't understand either that meant not crossing the finish line, which means you don't get the coins, right? So that was like, I was like, oh wait a minute, but I need coins and stars.
You didn't pass go and collect $200.
Correct.
Basically.
I chose to get items instead. I didn't fully comprehend, which, I mean, depending on how it goes, you know.
I think this one has more map specific items too. Than previous ones do. And so there's a lot of, or not a lot, but there's a little bit of a learning curve because there's new items and then there's map specific things going on too, as well as map specific items. And so it's pretty crazy.
It's good though. I like the variety in the stages, and they have a couple throwback stages as well, which are a little bit more normal Mario Party. So if that's really your flair and this is the only Mario Party you have, then and you want to have that experience, you can have a more standard Mario Party experience by playing some of those older maps, right? Like, you know, that was Mario Party Superstars, like whole bag, right? Was just, this is like the classic Mario Party because we know some people don't like all the new stuff, right? So this at least has a little bit of a balance of both in there as well, which I do appreciate. But I, for one, you know, and maybe we can talk about like some of the mini games here. I like the motion stuff. You know, I think it's like, there's a couple franchises where it's like, I just want motion in those. It's Mario Party and like WarioWare. You know, like to me, those franchises are like the showcases for whatever the Nintendo gimmick is for that console, right? So, you know, I don't want that gimmick thrown into every single game because then it makes it to where I can't really enjoy it down the line if I'm playing it on a different system or whatever. But for games like this, they feel like kind of like they are trying to feature those new things. Like I wish that there were, AR or whatever, the biting the sandwich from 1-2 Switch sort of mini games, stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, WarioWare's bag now, is that they're doing all the really weirdo shit. But I felt like most of the motion control stuff that I played was actually really fun. And it really does showcase, how precise you can be with the Joy-Con's gyro sensors, like I think a lot of the, whether it be the kind of pachinko stuff where you're moving platforms left and right, or the times where you're kind of like gliding or moving with a ship by kind of slightly tilting your thing. I like that they kind of use the Joy-Cons not always the same way. It's not like it was on like Mario Party 8 or whatever on the Wii, where it's just anybody who's shaking the Wiimote fast enough is probably going to do well. You actually have to actually slow down and try to actually do what the game is telling you to do, right? So I've been enjoying that about the mini games so far in this.
I agree. I haven't played enough of it to have like a real definitive statement, but I think about like Super Mario Party is primarily, if not exclusively, motion mini games, and then Mario Party Superstars as no motion. And I think it's nice that this one has a little bit of a mix of both.
I agree.
And I think I wish that was true. I haven't played enough to really see what the balance is, but I've enjoyed that sometimes it's, just using the stick and moving your character and pressing a button. And sometimes it's, doing some weird movement or whatever. It keeps it interesting.
I feel like I did get a little frustrated with sometimes the motion controls, and I don't know if this is just a me thing, but I was just like, this doesn't quite feel right. Like some of the motion stuff, and I like motion controls enough. Like I played, I've gotten into Nintendo Switch Sports, Wii Sports for the Nintendo Switch family of systems, and Wii Sports 4. Thank you. I was like trying to remember the number, and I love golf in that so much, and I've gotten really pretty good at the golf mechanics through practicing, but in this one I felt like some of it like didn't feel quite right, and I wish that I had the ability to calibrate before a game, because like in Nintendo Switch Sports, Wii Sports 4, you can like calibrate as you're like playing every game. But there was like a couple of games last night when we played, I was like, I wish I could have calibrated, because I think I would have performed better in that situation if I was able to. That being said, I do like that it is a mix, like you were saying. Like, it's not all motion and it's not all regular. So it's like a way for everyone who likes to play these games to be able to play together and have a more fair balance, I feel like, than a lot of the other Mario Party games for the Switch specifically. Like, you're going to get old heads that are only non-motion, and then you're going to get new heads that are all motion. It's a little bit of both.
I don't know. Mario Party minigames are good. like they're not amazing, but they're good. Like, and there's a lot of them, and and it's fun. And it's fun when you're playing a new one and you're just discovering all these new little games and stuff.
It's been funny playing Mario Party after having played UFO 50 a bunch, because that's a game that also has like a ton of games in it, but they're all like fully featured games. So it's fun to see this, where it's like the ideas are even more weird and experimental because they're like 5 seconds long or whatever. And so it's like kind of going from that to this has been kind of a bit of a whiplash moment for me, but it's been pretty fun. Summer, did you have any thoughts on these mini games?
Oh, I'm just also a motion control truther, and I think it's I'm sorry, Jordan. I think it's not that serious. I don't think we have to calibrate every single one, because I think the motion controls are so simple that it doesn't matter.
I kind of agree.
Did I feel that way playing the like Rosalina snowboarding game? Yeah. Did I care enough? No. I'm like, oh, someone else is gonna get it. Woohoo, haha. Like,
that someone was me, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm just like, that's kind of where I'm at with it. But maybe that's because, again, I'm just kind of playing it to like hang out. And
I think a vestige of my childhood is like I'm a little more competitive than I need to be about something like this. Like, it's not that serious, like,
right. Yeah. Like, we're not going to nationals. Right. We're not. We're not. Now,
Party.
Now, that's not to say that this game won't be featured at the Olympics, in 4 years, but
I know they've been hawking that this game has more playable characters than any other Mario Party. Does anybody care about that? I mean, is it?
I mean, I care that Pauline's in it, but other than that, like, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a funny thing. I think it's good, but like like, yeah, I don't really care too much about which character I play as in Mario Party for whatever reason.
I'm happy just to play as Birdo, my queen, my wife. It's just the sexiest Nintendo character throughout all of time. I had a really good time playing as Birdo last night. And then, yeah, like you said, it's cool to see Pauline here. Also, Ninji being in the game is awesome. Ninji is a really cool character and has been around since like Super Mario World, but as like this really kind of like random enemy. We've been seeing Ninji come back in really random ways, like Ninja speedruns being in Mario Maker 2 were such an interesting and weird part of that game. And it's nice to have kind of a playable Ninja right now. So that's really great to see. But yeah, other than that, it's kind of a pretty boilerplate collection of characters here. I mean, you've got Bowser, which is why in the Bowser modes, it's like imposter Bowser is like the bad guy because you can actually play as good guy Bowser in this, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. It's all pretty standard stuff as far as I'm concerned with this Mario Party iteration.
Well, maybe we can talk about some of these. I don't know what they technically call them in the game, but they're like, I'm calling them a bonus area because the game's kind of set up like a archipelago or a bay with lots of different like little islands. And they have, in addition to just, playing your standard Mario Party, you can go and you can play these, like, they're not mini games because they're kind of bigger than mini games, but they're also not like fully fleshed out games. They kind of remind me of like in WarioWare, the extra modes or whatever they sometimes have. It really feels like that, where it's kind of like its own little separate, more chunky mini game. I actually played through a few of these and really enjoyed them.
Which ones did you like?
So I only played 3 of them so far. I played Toad Factory, and that is the one I really liked. And there are 30. So my son and I played Toad Factory. And basically, I think it's best probably or most chaotic with 4 people. And that's probably the way I would recommend it. Unless, actually, though, I don't know, because you might get frustrated with your friends. But you're kind of trying to pass a ball through like a series of maze of things that you're moving with motion controls using one Joy-Con. And I played it 2-player. My son and I played it. And when you play it 2-player, you kind of control 2 areas that presumably, when you're 4-player, somebody else would control. But it's not hard to do because they're kind of broken up by the other person. But anyway, I just found it really fun. And we played through the entire thing in like however long it took us, an hour, 2 hours. I don't know, probably somewhere in that range. Couple hours, and I was like, dang, I could have played something 2 or 3 times as long of that because I really enjoyed it. The last level had a pretty big difficulty spike, but it was fun, and we beat it.
Yeah, Jordan and I played some of that last night, and it was fun, but it felt like really easy. And I think we were both getting frustrated by how slowly the ball moves.
Yeah,
when you're not like actively whacking it across the screen, like it can move really fast, but when it's not, it's just like, bro, fucking come on, I'm waiting so I can actually do something. You know what I mean? But we also didn't play it for long enough to get to those harder levels, and I think that we were already starting to see the second world of it get a lot more fun than the first one. So I imagine that does get a lot more fun as you go.
It's kind of funny because some of them you just beat, and some of them take you a while, but also I was really getting on my kid at the end because for the final level, I'm like, we have to go real slow. Because I think maybe it's training you for like the more difficult parts where you do kind of have to like just balance it while you're waiting for something and stuff like that. Overall, it's not that hard. And some of it was just the joy of playing it with my kid, but it did have a weird difficulty spike at the end.
Yeah, I agree with you that would be a lot more fun, I think, with 4 people, because there are 4 things for you to control, and it's like when it's 2 people, you're controlling every other one, and it's just kind of like, okay, this is clearly made for 4 people in mind, right? Yeah.
Well, then we also played Paratroopa, whatever that one's called. I don't have the name in front of me. Basically like sort of a free. I mean, there's actually some challenges and stuff, but you're using your motion controls to fly, as Mario and Luigi. And I don't know that you can play it as more than 2 people. And I just kind of enjoyed it. Like it was another thing that I felt like this is fun to fly around and kind of experience. I don't know that it's amazing or anything, but did y'all try that one too?
We did.
Tried, yeah, it was like Pilot Wings meets Crazy Taxi at certain points. Like, because there's like one part where you're having to like collect people and then deliver them somewhere else, whereas like the Crazy Taxi vibe. But the physics felt like Pilot Wings, and it was pretty fun. And it was kind of funny because I had to like stand behind David and like flap.
Yeah, we were streaming, so we had a weird setup. If we were playing it on the TV, I think that would have felt a little bit more natural. But yeah. It was fun though. You're right. It reminds me of Pilot Wings. It like, especially the newer ones that take place around like Woohoo Island. You know, it like kind of felt like this Mario Party version of Woohoo Island, which was kind of cool to see. And yeah, it reminded me of like the hang glider modes in Pilot Wings, but it was cool. My arms got pretty tired after flapping them up and down the whole time.
I got to the point where I realized what you had to do, and I just sat down and I had my Joy-Cons kind of like right in front of me like this. And you get to a point, but honestly, it was more fun because it's like I kind of got the precision and stuff. You know, what I mean?
Sure.
Like, yes, it is. It was maybe not the way they want you to play it, but I was like, this feels good, and it feels like I'm playing Pilot Wings or something, you know, with just a little bit of motion control. Anyway,
I think overall, more than anything, this is the one out of all of these that feels the most out of place. You know what I mean? This feels like they had an idea for a game, and then we're like, oh, well, this is kind of too big to be a mini game, and it wouldn't really make sense to release on its own. So let's just fucking slap it in this Mario Party game, I guess. You know, it was very odd to play, but it was also kind of like just really nice and surprising. And it's one that I can see myself going back to in single player just to fly around and explore the island because there is like a free flight mode as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, we spent the most time just in the free flight mode because it was just, and that's where I eventually was like, this is how you do. Oh, I don't need to be flapping my wing. You know what I mean? Like,
it really makes me want to see a new Pilot Wings, especially if the next system is 4K and is really beautiful. That would be a great technical showcase for the system if they could release a new Pilot Wings for the next Switch.
The other one I tried out was Rhythm Kitchen, and I didn't play as much of this, but it's a co-op rhythm game, which again probably would be best with 4 people, but we played it 2-player, and I think I like that it's co-op because there's a lot less like, oh, I'm better than you, and it was more like we all got to work together to be on the beat, and I liked that about it. Did anybody here try that one?
I really like this. Was probably my favorite of all the motion specific like side games. Like it was like Overcooked meets Guitar Hero in a weird way. And I like that it was also like it was on the beat, but not everyone was on the same beat. So it kind of like you get to watch everyone kind of like chop at different times. And like I can see this being really fun with 4 people. David and I played it with 2 people. The CPUs did 100%, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, what? Like that doesn't okay. But I can see with 4 people this being like a really fun game to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
The CPUs did 100% on mine too. I'm guessing that's so that you can't be mad at the computer, but yeah, it does kind of make it feel like we should play this 4-player or not at all.
Yeah.
Invite us over sometime. I'll play it. You know.
Well, those were the only ones that I tried out, but there are 3 or 4 more, as well as some other like online type stuff. Did y'all get a chance to try any of the other ones?
I didn't do a ton more of these. There are some modes that I straight up haven't tried yet, unfortunately. Like the minigame Bay I haven't played, even though I think that's just kind of like picking mini games to play, right? I know Bowser Kaboom is a mode that uses 8 players, and that is an online mode. Sadly, Summer, I think that is an online only mode. I don't know that you can. I don't know that you can play 8 players local on that one. I might be wrong, but that's what I was reading up on as we were starting this. So forgive me if I'm wrong on that, but that would be very Nintendo to do. But anyway, what I did play was the 20-player online mode, Koopathlon, and I thought that was very fun. I enjoyed that quite a bit. That is one where it's very much its own thing, and it has its own bespoke mini games for as well. It's not reusing anything from the previous ones, but basically it's a really big, long board with like hundreds of spaces, and you play mini games in which you get coins throughout them, and every coin you get moves you forward a space. And so it's all happening actively as you're playing the mini game. So the screen kind of like squishes and you can see an overview of the whole board as people are moving as you're doing the mini games. And it's this really fun kind of like, it's not Fall Guys really, but it kind of feels a little Fall Guys-y, you know? It's a little bit like you've got a lot more people all playing at once, and then you have these Bowser mini games that come in where all 20 players are playing together, right? The one that I played, I feel like was half filled with real people and half filled with CPUs. They tried to make it seem like it's all real people, but you can kind of always tell when the people's names are just like Ryan and Cynthia. It's like, okay, if there's no like symbols in anyone's names, then it's probably just all CPUs, you know? But it was still a really fun time, and the difficulty gets pretty hard and it gets pretty competitive in that mode. And I don't know, that was one I could definitely see myself going back to.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. As we kind of maybe head towards wrapping this conversation up, I want to make sure there's other, either modes or anything specific about the game that we get a chance to talk about. Is there anything anybody wants to make sure we talk about?
I do want to say that this game was like really pretty, like overall. Like I was just kind of struck by the graphics of this game. And not to say that Mario Party games are ever like not lookers. They're always like whatever. They're like serviceable. But this one in particular is like, damn, they like really put a lot of effort into the art and like the style of the world and like the map that they like how you enter into the games is like really interesting, which I also noticed about the Mario Party Superstars as well. Like it's not just like, here's a menu. It's like, no, you're like running around in the world to try to like select which part of the world you want to go into. And I don't know. I just like really appreciated the art style in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nintendo Cube, that's true of all their games, right? Like I think Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, like that game like looks really good for no reason. Like some of that shit looks like photoreal. And I think it's true in this as well. Not that Mario looks photoreal, but you know what I'm saying? It's like just got a really nice vibe. And I think we've been seeing a lot of games recently, especially in the last little bit of the Switch's lifespan, kind of overdoing it and having performance dips, or it's like, man, the lack of anti-aliasing here is really getting to me, but this game in particular, I think they nailed it. That, I haven't seen a single frame dip on this one. All is feeling pretty solid to me as I'm playing through it. So I'm really impressed with that as well.
Summer, is there anything else you want to say about Super Mario Party Jamboree?
I'm having fun. I clearly need to try out more of it. So that's like honestly a good sign though too. Like I'm enjoying it and like, oh, there's more I have to do still. So that's like a good thing.
Yeah.
I
will say maybe as a last thing, if nobody else has anything, that I think that I was really impressed with the online for this, particularly with Super Mario Party, the first one for the Switch coming out, not having any online at all. And then they patched it in at the end. And then Mario Party Superstars had it from the beginning. And now this game also has it from the beginning and has a lot of online only things in addition to that. I think that they have really been improving every single release on how these games work. And it was a pretty fucking seamless thing when we all played together last night, because it was you, Summer, by yourself at your house. We also played with Jeremy, who played also by himself at his house. And then Jordan came over with me, and we were both playing locally inside a room with all four of us in a private match. And it was just seamless. We were on a Discord call and it really just felt like we were all in the same room. And I didn't see any lag or any kind of slowdown or anything like that. Now, if you're playing with people in different countries or whatever, I'm sure you're going to start to see some issues. Or you play with somebody with some bad internet, you're probably going to have some issues as well. But we didn't have any of those issues last night when I was playing. And the stuff that I was playing with the Koopathlon was all completely seamless as well. And so I think some of that is how they set it up, to where there can be some delays and you're not going to notice it, like you can't really do something like that in a Mario Maker 2 or whatever. But I was very, very impressed with this. I've been impressed, I think, just overall with a lot of the ways that Nintendo has been adding online into Mario games the further into the Switch's life that we go. And that's something that I really hope to see in all the next games for the next system. Really hoping that this playtest is a big indication of, dedicated servers and more games shipping with online from the very beginning. I'm very emboldened and excited by that. I just want to definitely give Nintendo Cube and Nintendo themselves their flowers where it's due, because that was a really impressive thing to be able to pull off.
Well, all right then. I think that's going to do it for our discussion on Super Mario Party Jamboree. If you're out there and you're playing this game and you've gotten any thoughts on it, we'd love to hear them, and we'll try to shout you out next time. And we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the games we've been playing recently. Really, the only game I wanted to talk about is Emio the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club. I am still not done, but I'm really close. I think I looked it up because I wanted to know how many chapters there are in the game, and there are apparently 12, and I think I'm on 11. I think I'm just started 11. So ready. I'm not ready to finish this game, actually. I'm ready to know the answers, but I'm really enjoying it, so I'm kind of sad that I'm nearing the end of it, because, man, what a twisting, turning, or I don't know, that's not maybe not the right thing. It's just there's a lot of things happening, a lot of like people you're keeping track of and trying to find the connections between and stuff, and I do not know. I am not trying to put my personal detective hat on. I am just trying to enjoy this, and and that is happening. So probably whenever, unless I play a ton of games, I'll try to at least bring this up whenever we come back after our break. But I also am really looking forward to talking to, I don't know, Dodo, AV, whoever has beaten this game and wants to talk spoilers sometime soon. But really, I think that's the main thing I've been playing, so I don't have a whole lot else to talk about.
Yeah, I'll go next because I don't really have much to talk about else either. I've been playing Star Ocean, the second story R. I'm like really determined to finish this game. So I'm at the Hoffman Ruins right now, but the problem is I just like really don't have that much time to do anything video game related unless like I'm like playing with friends, So I'm still really actually enjoying this game now that I like gotten into the swing of it, and I'm like starting to get pretty good at it. I also just got like a bunny. If you play the game, you know what I mean. I won't say more than that. But yeah, other than that, Apex Legends, I do still play. I don't talk about it on the pod, but I do still play. Did a Halloween event that I actually really enjoy, like the Halloween mode. This year they do one every year. This year is like not a particularly like new event, but they merge like 3 different events into one, and like 3 different half-baked events combined to make one actually good event, where it's like all these little elements. So like instead of like items that help you traverse the map or like survive, they're like, oh, you get an ability from another character, so it just kind of like adds that replayability. Like extra XP drops in the form of like candy bags, which I actually really liked, but it's like kind of a half-baked idea on its own. And then the other thing that they added in for this mode was there's like a Revenant Skull grenade, and this grenade is like a homing grenade that's not in the regular game. So like all those 3 elements combined into one mode like is really fun, and it's also like the newest map at night, which is always like the theme of the Halloween event is like a particular mode at night. So that, and then also they like mixed in this other event where it's like you have infinite respawns as long as one person's alive until you get to like the final ring. So it's like, oh, okay, all these like disparate elements combined into one event is actually like really fun. And it's like, it's hard like sometimes with that game because some of the game modes that they like just try to do one off are not very fun. Like they're not very fun on their own, but this one is like pretty special. And I actually really, really enjoy what they did with the Halloween stuff this year. I always also love to see what skins they introduce, because they're not like Fortnite where they have like crossovers a lot. It's always like, but they do like rip shit off constantly. And it's hilarious because they'll do like legally distinct skins. And so it's always really fun to see like what legally distinct Halloween skins they have this year. So that's but anyway, pretty much what I've been playing.
Yeah, I'll go real quick. I played a little bit of the Metaphor Refantasio demo, and I am enjoying what I played so far. Who knows if I'm going to actually jump into that 80, 90 hour RPG. We'll see. But I do have someone in my Steam family that has purchased the full game. So I've got access to it if I want to play it. So that's exciting. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, I'll be able to dip my toe in at my leisure. So I'm happy to see that. I've been playing some more Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom as well. Not a ton to report. I'm still about the same spot. We're working through the Deku area now, the kind of like Farron Temple right now, which I'm finding actually to be a little bit tedious, and I'm getting lost really easily, and it's kind of souring me a little bit on it. I don't know. This one in particular, I just keep popping up at the same spot, and then I keep putting it down, and then I like pick it up, and then I'm like, wait, what have I done already? And then I keep putting it down again. So I think I just need to get past this bit, and I'll get back into the game a little bit more. But there's been a lot of other things to play. I've been playing F-Zero 99 still. The anniversary event is almost over. It's ending in like one day, and I finally just unlocked all of the unlocks to do in the F-Zero 99 anniversary event, which has been really exciting. So I have all the new courses. I don't have all the new tracks yet, the new cars yet, but I can get those soon. But all the kind of like event specific stuff I unlocked just today, actually. So that's been really exciting to have a good reason to go and try to unlock stuff. It's nice to kind of be pushed to play some of these constant game as a service online games that Nintendo likes to do. And then finally, just another shout out to UFO 50. I continue to basically have this be the main only game that I want to ever play for the rest of my life. That's not really true, but I have about 70 hours in this game now. I have not stopped, and I have been doing a lot of multiplayer with UFO 50 recently. I've been playing Party House, which is the kind of card deck builder game in it. That's actually really fun to play multiplayer. But I do want to give a shout out to Campanella 2, which was the kind of Spelunky style game that's in this collection. This one took me a solid 15 hours to beat. And that it is a 20-minute game if you go all the way through it, start to finish, like really quickly. That just shows how many times I died and failed at various points and just trying over and over and over again. Now, to say also, I don't know that I've ever actually beaten Spelunky, and I've played that game for like 100 hours. So, this is just kind of the way that Derek Yu makes his roguelikes. But boy, oh boy, when I finally did it, I was very excited. I streamed it. I did a stream saying I'm going to play Campanella 2 until I beat it. And I was on the very last level, and I was like, oh man, there's no way I'm actually going to beat this. This is going to be my final run. And then I beat it on that run, and I was so excited. It's an epic stream. Please go to my Twitch and check out the VOD on that. I was actually really pumped, and that was a super entertaining stream. But yeah, so I wanted to give that a shout out. There's still like 6 or 7 games I haven't even started on that collection. So I'm looking forward to discovering more about that. And the more and more people, I'm talking to more important people that have been playing and have enjoyed the game as well, which makes me really excited. I think that there's still a chance that this could become a sleeper hit. But the more people I talk about it to, the more people want to play it. So that's been UFO 50. Summer, what about you? What have you been playing?
Not much. Don't need to talk long. I'm continuing to play Like a Dragon. The first one with Ichiban Kasuga, and I'm like, I told myself I was going to advance the plot and stop playing the business simulator. I got to where it took me a while to get to where the plot is going to advance, and then I needed to save and quit. And then I am still making it through my maddening playthrough of the Golden Deer route in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I just got to keep chipping away at it. I say got to keep chipping away at it. I am enjoying it. It is like a whole other challenge. I've never, I hadn't played through it on maddening. Yeah, that's it though. I'm just chugging along on the games that I'm always playing.
Very cool.
All right. Well, I think that's it then for this episode on Super Mario Party Jamboree. We want to give a thank you to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. A thank you to Corduroy, who does our awesome music. Big thank you to all our patrons over on Patreon. If you're looking for me, Patrick, you can find me online as PDYX.
You can find me at Weebwitched.
You can find me at Bordan.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We have a website, switchheadz.com, and we have a Patreon, like Patrick said, and we also have a Facebook group and a Discord. Please join us over there on the Discord. We'd love to have you. It's a wonderful community. And please like and subscribe on YouTube. Go ahead and give us a review on Apple Podcasts and all that good stuff. And look for the links in the descriptions of those episodes as well, where you can find all of these links and join our community going forward. We love you guys so much. We'd love to have you join. the conversation outside of you guys yelling at us in your car. That's going to do it for this wonderful episode on Super Mario Party Jamboree. We'll be back in a couple weeks, but we got some great stuff lined up. We got an awesome episode for you guys next week and the week following with some really interesting topics. I can't wait for you guys to listen to those. So make sure you tune in to the specials while we're out. But we'll be back with our standard episodes with the release of Mario and Luigi Brothership at the beginning or early part of November. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, gang, you guys know the drill. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Try not to lose your shit too hard as you're playing this new Mario Party game. It's only a game, guys. Don't let anger get the best of you. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.